Hello everyone, welcome to yet another session on soft skills and interpersonal communication skills with me Waheeda, Assistant Professor at the Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Dundigal, Hyderabad. In today's session, we are going to study about reading skills. What are the types of reading skills? What are the strategies that we have to um, take up when we are reading a text and things like that? What a blessing it is to love books, says Elizabeth Warren Ernem. Today a reader, tomorrow a leader. One who reads a lot of books will become a leader at one point of time in their life. The more you read, the more things you know. The more you learn, the more places you will go, says Dr. Seuss. There's no friend as loyal as a book, Ernest Hemingway says. If you're looking for some magic in your life, open up a book. Reading is the most important skill in English language from other language skills in acquiring language. If students are good in reading, they will be good in other language skills as well. For this reason, teachers of English should focus on this skill a lot. Reading means particular interpretation of something. Reading is a skill which enables us to get a message, recognizing the written words, written symbols, getting understanding of the meanings of the words, used to teach pronunciation, grasping information from text, and so on. What are reading skills? Reading is the ability or is the process of constructing meaning from written text. It is a complex skill requiring the coordination of a number of interrelated sources of information. Anderson says in 1885. Reading skills refer to the specific abilities that enable a person to read with independence and interact with the message. When you're reading something, you are trying to make use of your intellect. With independence, you are trying to interact with the message. It is like speaking and listening process that goes with the reader as the writer and the writer. What do we read? We read a lot of things: calendars, addresses, phone books, name cards, bank statements, credit cards, maps, weather forecasts, pamphlets, product labels, instructions, washing instructions, short stories, novels, plays, poems, handbooks, clothes size labels, children's scribbling, informal letters, business letters, rules and regulations, electronic mails, fax messages, even junk mails, postcards, greeting cards, comic books, newspapers, diplomas, application forms, store catalogs, magazines, radio and TV guides, advertisements, posters, travel guides, cookbooks, repair manuals, memos, time schedules, street signs, syllabi, journals, articles, song lyrics, film subtitles, diagrams, things like that. Why do we read? Is it essential for us to read whatever we see, whatever written text? We read for pleasure, we read for information. Why reading is important? It is important because it is the fundamental functioning in today's society. It is very important. It has always been important from time immemorial, and today even it is more important. Reading is a vital skill in finding a good job. Reading is important because it develops the mind. The mind is a muscle. It needs exercises. Understanding the written word is one way the mind grows in its ability. It is how we discover new things. Books, magazines, and even the internet are great learning tools which require the ability to read and understand. Reading develops the imagination. It is fundamental to functioning in today's society. Why do we say that? because if we want to read, if we want to stay in the society, we need to read the things that are being provided by our society. It is vital skill in finding a job. Right from the beginning of reading the advertisement in your classified newspaper, you need this skill to find a job. It is important because it develops the mind. I told you when I was explaining you about the LSRW, I told these four skills are like the four walls of a room, and it is accompanied by the roof with the thinking skills. Whenever a person is coming in contact with any reading material, that person has to employ his critical thinking abilities when we are reading it. Mind is a muscle, a biggest or a very intellectual muscle. It needs exercise though. And when we are reading, it is in its wildest form, and it is very active when we are reading, because when we are reading, we are sending some signals to our brain, and it is helping us to understand. We make an image in our mind as what we are reading. It grows in its ability when we are reading it. It is how we discover new things. When we are reading books, we are reading magazines, or even the blogs. In the recent development in the internet world, even the internet is a great tool. It offers a great tool in learning, which requires the ability to read and understand. Without the ability or without the understanding of how reading goes, it is not possible for us to understand any material that we come across. It develops our imagination. How, if, when we are reading, we are making an impression, or making a picture in our mind, in our imagination, and that's how it increases, it develops, and it becomes broader in image. There is an old saying, the pen is mightier than the sword. Yes, writing and reading can influence a person more than a sword can influence anybody's life. Reading is important because words, whether they are spoken or written, are the building blocks of life. Without reading, life cannot go further. I mean, we cannot be considered as educated, or people may not respect us if we are not having the ability to read. So, to keep ourselves in the society well informed, we need to read. So for that, some people do not have the proper idea or proper method as to how to do good reading, effective reading in a short period of time. So here are a few tips that you can cultivate to have a good reading habit. Set times on each day, or decide it. Do make a timetable that you have to set a little time from the 24 hours allotted to you for that, for set aside time. Always carry a book. If you have a book in your hand, we do not know when we can get time, so it is better to have a book in your hand and start reading. Nowadays you have so many word pads and so many books, e-learning books that are available to you over the internet, so your phone is enough for you. Find a quiet place, and if you have the quiet place, it is well and good. Or else, if you do not have the quiet place, it is difficult in today's world to have a quiet place. Very often it is not accessible to us, so we can even have our earpods in our ears, and then just start reading our book or our content. Reduce television and internet. If you have a book in your hand and you are reading it, you will get so engrossed in it, and you will reduce your internet and television time. Keep a log. By reading on a daily basis, you can have a timetable, or you can have a list of all the books that you have read. Go to used bookshops so that you get the material in less expensive rates, and then you can also have it or read the book and return it to the owner of the shop. Okay, or buy them at cheaper rates from the used books shops. Have a library day. Make it a habit in your weekly timetable to at least spend 3 to 4 hours per week in a library, so that you are having access to the new books that are available, and read fun and compelling books. If you are reading interesting and compelling books, it will help you to keep in contact with. Sometimes if we are reading very boring books, or the books that you do not have the vocabulary understanding, then it might become very difficult for you, or it gets boring if you have to see the meaning of the difficult words that are there for every third word, fourth word that you are reading. And if you go back to the content, it becomes be difficult, and you are not able to connect with the content. So make it a pleasurable affair. If you are reading something, choose a book that amuses you and gives you information. Or if you are not interested in that content, at least you must have the climax or the end, that makes you curious to read the whole book. Set a high goal. Like if you keep maybe 4 hours or 5 hours per week, maybe you will end up having at least 3 hours a day. If you are having high goals, you will try to achieve them. At least if not that high, you can at least go to the middle of the goal that you have mapped out for yourself. Like reading 15 to 10 to 15 books per month. Have a reading hour or reading day. Set aside some time, allot some time, especially for reading something outside your syllabus, outside your curriculum textbook, so that you are in contact with whatever the new things are happening around the world. Okay. And in reading that, we come across a lot of barriers, effectiveness to reading, barriers of effectiveness of reading. Because of the lack of grammatical and linguistic competence, we may not understand the content as it is intended by the writer. A lack of motivation. If we have people around who are all the time watching movies on the internet, or going out to theaters to watch movies, and nobody at home reads anything, then it is likely that we also get less motivated towards reading a book. So it is advised that each other should motivate each other for reading books. Parents should be examples, or for the youngsters to imitate the motivation that they should be having from their parents. Lack of concentration. People have so many things in today's world. There are so many things on our mind, and we are not able to concentrate on one thing. Proper light and ventilation, if it is not there for us, then we might feel um, bored, and we might get suffocated, and we want to take fresh air and proper sunlight, and then we might leave the book and then go out and enjoy the beauty of nature. And that could be one of the reasons. Improper light and ventilation should be there, so that we get used to reading. Size of the book matters a lot. If the book is big and it is heavy, it becomes difficult for us to carry it and then read. If the books are divided into small booklets, then it would be good for everyone to read easily. Articulating the words and sentences loudly. What even happens is that people may not be able to understand or read the words and sentences loudly, because of the constraint of the people around them. Putting fingers, pen, or any object on the words and sentences while reading. If we are in the habit of putting our finger like this and reading, or we are putting our pen like this on the letters and words, and then we are reading, and if in the absence of this thing, we might get distracted, or we might skip the lines that we are reading. And again, main important thing is our narrow eye span, which because of the eyesight, or because of some uh, problem in the eyesight, people might not have proper eyesight to read. There are types of reading that we'll go to: skimming, scanning, intensive, and extensive. These are the four main techniques of reading any text according to the availability, or according to the style or the type of material that is available. Skimming is when we glance over a text to get the main idea or gist of the text, main or important points from the idea, leaving the unimportant things, only taking the most important things from the text, or the pulp of the material. uh, that is called as skimming through the text. Scanning is when we quickly look through a text to pick out some key points, very important points from any book. If we are scanning, we do this technique when we want a quick look at through the textbook. Intensive reading, as the name itself or the title suggests, we are intensively involved with the text when we are closely examining the text for literary or linguistic purposes. We are reading the whole text, maybe the sub the the subject textbook, or any book that we have to read for our examination point of view. To retain the information for a longer period of time, we do it intensively. We are involved with the text. And extensive reading is normally for pleasure when we are immersed in a book. Usually this type of reading is reading of novels, storybook, short story books, blogs, mm, travel manuals, or even the discovery books that are available, which we read for pleasure. Okay. What is skimming? To read quickly to get the general idea of a passage. This technique helps us to get the general idea of the a passage or whatever we are reading. Usually, for reading magazines and newspaper, we do not read the whole of the content. Whatever that is appearing, we read the main important points, or the main idea, getting the main idea of the text. Skimming is used to quickly gather the most important information. It is not essential to understand each word when you are skimming. At the beginning, when we want to read the textbook, we read the text in detail. Even then, also, we employ this technique to understand what is important. We run your eyes over the text, noting important information. Use skimming to quickly get up to speed on a current business situation also. Like, how to skim? We need to read the title of there in one, and read the instructions or the first paragraphs if there is a one. Read the first sentence of every other paragraph. Notice any pictures, charts, or if there are any graphs also. Notice any italicized or bold faced words or phrases. Read the summary or last paragraph if there is one. Read for which audience the text was written. Then read what type of text it is, and read what the purpose of author and the general content of the text is all about. If you do all these things, then you will be able to skim through the text. What is it? First, the title, introduction, first paragraph, first line of every other paragraph. If you have any pictures, if you have any charts, if you have any graphs, and if there are any words written in italicized or bold faced phrases, then summary, last paragraph, so that for which audience it was written, so that you have the audience analysis or the reader's analysis at this point of time. Read what type of text it is, whether it is a text for instructions or whether it is a storybook which is prescribed for reading for the examination point of view, or any content, historical event, whatever it is. Examples of skimming: the newspaper to quickly get the general news of the day, magazines to quickly discover which articles you would like to read in more or detail, like business and travel brochures to quickly get informed. And we are scanning through the text, get only what you need. Scanning is rapidly running your eyes over the text in order to locate specific details. These three steps to scanning include: search for keywords. Wherever you are whenever you are reading, you have to search for some keywords that are available in the text. Move quickly over the page. It is not that you are reading the whole text. No, only uh, the those keywords that you really want, and you have to quickly move over the page. Less reading and more searching is the funda. Scanning is the act of searching a particular information in a text with a particular approach. Know what you are looking for, decide on a few keywords or phrases, and then search for terms. Read each question completely before starting to scan. Choose your words from the question itself. Look for answers to only one question at a time. Scan separately for each question. When you locate a keyword, read the surrounding text carefully to see if it is relevant. Reread the question to determine if the answer you found answers this question or not. The purposes of scanning: to search for a word in a dictionary or index, to find a phone number or an address in a directory, or to check the time schedule of a program in an agenda, to check the price of a specific item in a catalog, to know a particular information from a text. Scanning can save you hours of laborious reading. Then, skimming and scanning together involves a thorough overview of a text and implies a reading competence. Scanning is more a limited activity, only retrieving information relevant to a purpose. Since scanning is a less complex style of reading, it can be introduced first. Skimming requires greater fluency, and more practice is required, so it should be introduced later. Often, skimming and scanning are used together when reading a text. For example, the reader may skim through first to see if it is worth reading, then read it more carefully and scan for a specific piece of information uh, to note. Then, skimming and scanning are very rapid reading methods in which you glance at a passage to find the specific information. These reading methods make it easier for you to grasp large amount of material, especially when you are previewing. They are also useful when you don't need to know each and every word. Uh, in other words, when you are skimming and scanning, you cover everything. Check entire page. Then you notice visual clues, notice graphs, charts, titles, captions, or diagrams. Intensive reading. The word itself suggests intensive versus extensive reading. Reading in detail with specific learning aims and tasks. This is what we do in our class for the examination point of view. We want to retain the information for a longer period of time, and after having read something, we have to produce it back, write it back in the form or in the way that we have understood the content. Extensive reading longer text, example books for pleasure and to develop general reading skills. You will do this by yourself outside of class. The rapid reading of large quantities of material or longer reading for general understanding. Then, reading in detail with specific learning aims and tasks. Detail means developing reading skills, vocabulary, and grammar knowledge. A lifelong reading habit, enjoyment, and general reading skills when we are doing extensive reading. Out of the course, when we are doing extensive reading, the material that the place and time is there out of the course. And intensive reading, we are doing it in the course. Intensive is 100% understanding, limited reading, difficult text word for word, use dictionaries, reading to create and analyze the meaning. Extensive reading is overall understanding of the gist of the text, widespread reading, easy text, fluent reading, infer the meaning of the unknown words, and here we are reading for pleasure in the extensive reading. Intensive reading, we are reading to create and analyze the meaning of the content. uh, Detailed reading of the text as in the classroom. No detailed study of the text is extensive. Uh, then we have the reading techniques used in different situations: active reading, detailed reading, and speed reading. The three titles, they are self suggestive or self explanatory. uh, it's the process. What is active reading? It is the process of engaging with our reading in a dynamic way. You are thinking about what you are reading. As I gave you the example earlier, whenever we are using our eyes to read the word, our brain is scanning through it. Brain is trying to understand what the word actually means, drawing connections to other areas and questioning the information you read. The opposite of active reading is passive reading, just reading for the information. Then active reading is best for academic reading, when you have to comprehend and retain what you have read. It is also good when you have to read complex information, and also you ask questions, look for patterns, and highlight and make notes, link to existing knowledge, write a summary, and then you test yourself and you teach yourself as well. Find structure, proposition, evaluation. This is the method, or the style of reading, is an excellent reading technique for non-fiction, often called the SPE technique. It involves three steps: find the structure of the text. Structure, proposition, and evaluation is the methods. That is what is called as SPE. Structure, proposition, and evaluation. This is the style structured suggested by Dr. Adler Mortimer in his book How to Read a Book. He suggested that first we must find the technique, find the structure of the book. This is by simply studying the layout of the text. You can do this by looking at the table of contents on the headings and subheadings in the text. You can find the author made propositions in each section of the text. Find the logical relationship between the author's propositions, that is determine how the statements relate to one another. Then we have to evaluate the final argument and conclusion. Look at the text conclusions and determine whether the statements of the text actually lead to that conclusion or not. Detailed reading is a technique that involves careful reading and analyzing every word for a deeper understanding of the material. This technique is used for extracting information accurately from the whole text. Usually, it is taken for any historical event. This is in this careful reading, we can skim the text first for getting a general idea, and then go back to reading in detail. As I told you when I was explaining skimming, in some of the reading text strategies, we employ the skimming strategy or skimming technique first to read in detail. We can use the dictionary to find the meaning of each unfamiliar word over here. Then speed reading, as the word suggests that it is a combination of various reading techniques. The aim of speed reading is basically to increase the reading speed without compromising the understanding of the text reading. In speed reading, you are not simply running your eyes through the text, but you are reading every word, but fast. Importantly, you are comprehending the text as you speed through. You are trying to understand what it is, and you are uttering the words in a faster manner, faster pace. If you have ever felt that there is so much to read but not enough time, you need to learn speed reading. Okay, these are some of the techniques that we discussed in reading. With this, I end this session. I, Wahida, sign off.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.